Hey folks, it's man once again, coming at you with another DVD review, a wrestling DVD review. And this is You Think You Know Me, the story of Edge. Now, Edge was a wrestler who was a tag team champion, world champion. Then he won the first Money in the Bank and cashed in on the Money in the Bank against John Cena, beating John Cena. And then around 2011, he went to WrestleMania, beat this guy named Alberto Del Rio to retain the championship. But quickly after, he found out that his neck, kind of like what happened to Stone Cold Steve Austin, sort of that same type of neck injury. But this has been festering for a while. He had to retire. I know recently, well, well, I guess not recently, but kind of recently, uh, he was back for like one show with a good friend of his named Christian, which they were a tag team. Of course, his real name is Adam Copeland. And I can say I liked this. I really did enjoy this DVD. I enjoyed the documentary, some good matches. Him and Christian, along with the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, they were sort of the guys who created the TLC tables, ladders, and chairs. They sort of created those matches, and those became some really damn good matches. If you're wondering, first off, this is a 3-disc set. It is an hour and 50-minute documentary, and then disc 2 and disc 3 are about 6 or so matches. I mean, I'll just read the back real quick. You know him as the infamous and ruthless rated R superstar, the ultimate opportunist, Edge. But in You Think You Know Me, the story of Edge, it uncovers the struggles and triumphs behind his rise to glory. Friends, rivals, and the man himself reflect on his life, from his days as a kid who dreamed of overcoming the odds to pursue a career in sports entertainment to his explosive presence in WWE. From his revolutionary tag team reign with Christian to his extraordinary run as 7-time World Heavyweight Champion and 4-time WWE Champion, and finally to his shocking retirement after WrestleMania 27. A never before seen 1995 match from Edge's pre-WWE career featuring his alter ego Adam Impact versus Christian Cage. Bouts for the WWE and World Heavyweight Championships, including a table, ladder, and chairs match for the WWE Championship versus John Cena, his unforgettable tag team matches against the Hardy Boys, his WrestleMania 24 World Heavyweight Championship match against Undertaker, and the final match of his career against Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 27. Edge's hand-selected favorite matches include battles with Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero, tag team matching with Christian, and more. Now, those matches, specifically, Disc 2, like I said, before he came to WWE, as he was called Adam Impact versus Christian Cage. King of the Ring 2000, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus TNA versus Too Cool. SmackDown 2002, Edge versus Eddie Guerrero in a no disqualification match. That's a pretty good one. Edge versus Randy Orton for an Intercontinental Championship. Edge versus Matt Hardy, and loser leaves Monday Night Raw. Edge versus Cena in a TLC match at Unforgiven 2006. Disc 3, Edge versus Shawn Michaels. Edge versus Undertaker WrestleMania 24. Edge versus Christian. Edge versus Kane versus Rey Mysterio versus Alberto Del Rio at TLC 2010. Edge versus Rey Mysterio versus Big Show versus Kane versus Drew McIntyre versus Wade Barrett at Elimination Chamber 2011. And his last match, Edge versus Alberto Del Rio, WrestleMania 27, where he retained the championship. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. Some really good matches, fun matches. Good documentary. Again, it's about an hour and 50 minutes. About how he was a kid, and he was into G.I. Joe. He was really into Kiss. He was into hockey. And he found wrestling. He was a big Hulk Hogan fan growing up. He was actually childhood friends with Christian. About how he was in the audience for WrestleMania 6 when it was Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior. Tells about his training and early wrestling. Tells about early on meeting Bret the Hitman Hart, who gave him advice and told him good luck. About his first, pretty much him getting into WWF at the time. How they had these vignettes where he's the silent, crazy loner type, and him coming up for a name for, I mean, his real name's Adam Copeland, but what's a name he can use for WWF? Oh, I'll use Edge. How that came about. He was in this group called the Brood, and they would rise up and there'd be fire around, which is pretty cool. And tells about him and Christian, who was a childhood friend of his, as a tag team, winning championships, competing against Jeff and Matt Hardy and the Dudley Boys, and really good TLC matches, including that WrestleMania moment where he speared Jeff Hardy from a ladder. Really good moment. And then about how him and Christian would do these comedic skits, like stuff with Mick Foley and stuff like the 5-second pose where they would freeze for the cameras. So yeah, you can take our pictures now. Battling people like William Regal, winning King of the Ring. Goes through the moment where he was able to team up with Hulk Hogan in a tag team and win the championship, and how cool that was to see grew up with Hulk Hogan and then getting to work with him. So that was really cool to watch. His rivalry with Eddie Guerrero, which Eddie Guerrero is very much missed. He was a great wrestler, one of the best ones. And I actually have his DVD. That's a really good DVD. Really wish Eddie Guerrero was still around. On a side note, I always remember the Eddie Guerrero thing where he would hit the mat with a chair and throw it to someone and then pretend he got hit and lie his ass off like, oh god, that guy hit me. So the other guy got disqualified and he would win via disqualification. That was always one of the great things about that. Was always awesome. But tells about how that's his neck injury, which sort of something that built up. It wasn't something just happened real quick like Stone Cold Steve Austin. It built up. And for example, in the match he had with Eddie Guerrero, which actually the match is on this DVD, the one on SmackDown, when he fell on a chair, he heard a pop, and or smack, and he heard a noise, and he thought it was a ladder, and really it's stuff to do with his neck that would lead up to years later him having to retire. So that was around the time he had to be off a while, and he comes back and he's getting booed and he doesn't really understand it. So that made some, okay, if you don't boo me, I'm gonna make sure you don't boo me for a reason. So he becomes this bitter character, and that's when he wins Money in the Bank, cashes in, beats Cena for the belt. Before that, they talk about the stuff between him, Lita, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy was another wrestler, one of the Hardy. Him and Jeff Hardy were a tag team. How Lita was Matt Hardy's girlfriend, and then Lita went to Edge, and then people really hated Edge and them, and so that became a rivalry. They go through that. Again, he cashes in, wins Money in the Bank. Stuff like the live sex celebration where him and Lita are taking each other's clothes off and getting to bed in a ring and just doing crazy stuff like that. You tell us a little bit about the politics of WWF. I'm just going to call it WWF because I just like calling it that. I prefer that than WWE. But about how he had the belt for a little bit and then he had to drop it to Cena really quickly at Royal Rumble, and you could tell he was pissed off about that, and pissed him off, and it's like you could have made a big run for this. They could have gone with me, they didn't. But he wasn't pissing and moaning, but you could tell that, you know, that's kind of like what they do nowadays. But how he was disappointed in that, and you know, again, his WrestleMania moments like Mick Foley, where he speared Mick Foley, go through a flaming table. His rivalry with John Cena, winning Money in the Bank again. His rivalries with Batista, his Undertaker, his WrestleMania match with Alberto Del Rio, having to retire. One cool moment is that after when that happened, actually Stone Cold Steve Austin gave him a call because he had gone through that neck thing and gave him some good advice. So that was really cool that Stone Cold Steve Austin gave him a call. So I thought that was really cool. And then how afterward, you know, he did little parts in shows like Haven and a movie called Bending the Rules, which I've seen that movie once. I remember the movie not being good, but I remember him being really good. I remember him being like, wow, this guy's really good. He needs a much better movie. Maybe that's a movie I need to watch again. But I remember him being good. I'm like, wow, this guy should really be getting more roles. He should be getting a lot more movie roles and stuff. He can really work as as a funny action star type of guy. But like he didn't really work. Like he has a bit of charisma and comic timing. The rest of the movie sucked, but I remember him being not bad at all. Like just needing better material to work with. Um, but I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a fun documentary. Went by real quick. Guys seems like a cool guy who has made mistakes, but don't we all? Sad that he had to retire. But you know, it's either that or risk your life pretty much. But it's a really interesting journey. And again, a lot of cool matches on here. Quite a few great matches on here. About 12 of them. Yeah, pretty much when I do reviews like these, it's pretty much just give a rundown on what's on it and like how long it is, stuff like that. Oh, he's a talented guy, talented wrestler, a good personality, made a good heel, good villain. And I guess I'm fumbling over words. I'm trying to figure out what else I could say, but yeah, I guess the best way to say is I thought it was entertaining. I'm glad I got this. I think if you're at all a fan of wrestling documentaries, or you're at all a fan of Edge, this is definitely worth a look. I thought they did a really good job, and it was very much worth the purchase. And I've been having fun watching these. I know there's a couple more I still need to get. Someone mentioned the Randy Orton DVD. Maybe I'll give that a look. Maybe I'll pick that up one day for the collection. I know this is the Chris Jericho one. And then there's one on the tag team, the Road Warriors. So that's a couple that I want to pick up someday. But if they're as good as this, I would like to pick those up one day. But yeah, this was definitely worth it. I really enjoyed it. And really good matches, especially those TLC matches, really good. But either way, thanks for watching, take care, and stay tuned for more videos later.